Why is the Land Rover Defender an iconic vehicle in Uganda, a country where this off-roader was once a symbol of fear and brutality? How did it become the vehicle of choice for today's adventurers? The Land Rover was first introduced to Uganda under British colonial rule. In 1962, Uganda gained its independence. This marked the beginning of a turbulent chapter for the new republic, which culminated in the infamous dictatorship of Idi Amin. It's thought that Amin ordered the killings of 300,000 people during his brutal 8-year regime. And Land Rovers were often used to carry out the bidding of the man who became known as the Butcher of Uganda. One of Uganda's pioneering Land Rover mechanics, Wycliffe Bukenya, recalls the decades of political turmoil when the Land Rover was the preferred vehicle of armed men.
Or people could run because they knew Land Rover, bring a Land Rover to a village. Oh, wow. It was something different. People were scared of Land Rovers.
In 1986, Yoweri Museveni seized power in Uganda. He also deployed Land Rovers against his enemies, like in this operation against rebels.
Incidentally, it intimidated rebels. They would think it's a mamba. When I would drive my Land Rover in the bushes, the rebels would run away thinking I'm coming with a mamba.
Even after 4 decades in power, President Museveni still often stands in the back of a Land Rover when he inspects his troops. But today, the Land Rover is also loved by a new generation of Ugandans, a generation that sees the British off-roader not just as a vehicle, but as a piece of history on wheels. A symbol of rebirth, resilience, and adventure. In 1990, the model originally called the Land Rover was rechristened the Land Rover Defender. By the time production ceased in the UK in 2016, more than 2 million units had been manufactured. It's thought 3/4 are still in use, like that of travel enthusiast Maureen Agena and her partner Edward Echvalu. They took their 1998 Land Rover Defender on a trip from Uganda to South Africa and back. They traversed unforgiving yet memorable landscapes, from the extreme heat of the desert to the wet, rugged terrain of the tropics. Their journey spanned 6 months, covered over 20,000 kilometers, and took them through more than a dozen southern African countries.
The muddiest of roads, the bumpiest of roads, the uneven roads, and you'll still go through.
But while the couple were savoring their southern African adventure, their old Land Rover began to show its age. Then, without warning, disaster struck. The vehicle wouldn't go into gear, leaving the novice long-distance travelers stranded in Zimbabwe on a highway that's infamous for its armed robberies.
So once it happened, we sat down in silence for about 20 minutes, not knowing what to do.
And I remember asking my husband that, what are we going to do?
I know nobody except my wife beside me and our friend, the defender.
I said, did we really have to come this far for this trip?
At that moment, it was flight or flight. We needed to find a solution fast and quick.
I was so scared, I was afraid we were running short on cash.
But I didn't want to show that I was actually scared.
Stranded and out of options, they turned to online forums for help. Their journey had attracted a large following among travel and car enthusiasts, so when they put out a call for assistance, the responses poured in. A little-known fact: a Land Rover Defender can still move a short distance, even with a damaged clutch.
Just a thought came through. I didn't have any idea on how to move the car, but just a thought came through that if I could engage the gears once the car is off, then I can engage the gears once I've inserted the gears. And I tried it. I told my partner, Maureen, that you know what, let me try this and see how it goes.
Knowing it's possible is one thing, knowing how to do it is another. The couple turned to the experts who had prepared their vehicle for the journey, Sisanga Motors in Kampala. For decades, veteran mechanic Abdul Sisanga has earned a reputation for mastering Land Rover repairs. His engineers guided the couple through the fix over the phone.
You can start with the gear in, you don't play with the pedal, and then you drive. You can go in that second gear only. You can go for some miles, and that's where you can maybe find a headache.
The couple managed to drive 35 kilometers to safety.
I could feel the relief on both our faces, on both our hearts.
It's just like having a sick child, and then you treat them, and then they are back and healthy and playing.
Abdul Sisanga is no ordinary mechanic. His love for Land Rovers began in childhood. He attended a primary school near a military base, where these iconic vehicles were a daily sight. Later, he trained under veteran Wycliffe Bukenya, mastering the art of restoring and maintaining Land Rovers.
The Land Rovers are fixed. I don't know, I cannot count them. Even at time you can ask me the one I own, I cannot even count them. I have to first sit down. Maybe you can give me 2 days or 3 days, I count them.
Today, Sisanga has assembled the country's largest collection of Land Rovers. When he started, he had even bigger plans.
My vision was to partner with the British to construct an assembly plant here. Land Rovers weren't imported fully built.
Some of the vehicles in Sisanga's collection are relics of Uganda's violent past.
This very vehicle was used by Idi Amin's soldiers. They mounted a heavy gun on it. Land Rovers were widely known to carry firearms.
One in particular still bears the scars of war.
From this Land Rover, soldiers could fire guns without risking much harm to the vehicle because it was sturdy and well insulated.
Despite the old Defender's enduring legacy, the Ugandan government has phased out their use in public offices. Many of these Land Rovers now form part of Sisanga's collection.
The maneuverability in rough terrain was tremendous. Over time, however, the cost of maintenance of a Land Rover proved too high. The first step towards moving away from Land Rover with NRA was the Spanish version called Santana. Because Santana came in with a cheaper cost, both unit and maintenance. But unfortunately, Santana was not equal to the task.
There's not a single ministry or government department that didn't own Land Rovers, and all the chassis you see here had the paperwork to prove it.
Once symbols of fear, today Land Rovers tell a different story. Wilson Mapima, a veteran tow truck driver with over 25 years of experience, spends his days rescuing stranded vehicles across the city. His Land Rover has seen it all. Though he can't say for sure whether his truck once carried soldiers or sent people fleeing at the sight of it, he knows it was on the road during Uganda's most turbulent years. Now the same truck moves through Kampala's bustling streets with a renewed purpose, steady, unshaken, and at peace. Yet Mapima worries. Spare parts are growing scarce, and they're the lifeblood of this enduring machine.
We're just lucky that a few individuals still have parts from old salvaged Land Rovers, which they sell to us. But the Land Rover is here for many years to come because it's proven resilient over time.
When Land Rover halted production of the iconic Defender in 2016, collector Abdul Sisanga knew time was running out. Determined to keep these legendary machines on the road, he sprang into action. stockpiling old models and salvaging every part he could find. From body panels to engines, nothing goes to waste. That's particularly true of the 300 TDI engines, no longer in production, yet still powering countless Land Rovers across Uganda. Some of these parts carry a deeper history. They come from Land Rovers that once rumbled through battlefields. Now in Sisenga's hands, they get a second life.
The 300 TDI is a very good engine because even if when it broke now, tomorrow you can overhaul it, you go back on the road. Then even if when you're on the bus, it is fixable.
The culture of salvaging parts is a global phenomenon among Land Rover enthusiasts. Veteran mechanic Wycliffe Bukenya, who was introduced to this practice in the UK, knows that Land Rovers were designed for versatility.
If this part gets bent or cracked, you don't have to throw the chassis. What you do, remove this part, put another one. All was made that you can always replace one by one piece.
So he can convert the off-roader into a pickup or switch it from left-hand to right-hand drive with standard parts.
The reason why they are calling it very easy. Remove the steering, put it the other side, because the holes are there. It's a matter of being determined. Now like this one, if I want to make it pick up, are you with me? If I want to make this one pick up, I only dismantle this cap part, put the pickup thing. It's already built when it's pick up. You can't see this fashion. It's for pickup. So it's universal. You do anything you want.
When it comes to engines, it's all about preference. Land Rover engines are interchangeable across various models, making engine swaps a common practice.
This Range Rover originally had a gas-powered V8 engine, but we swapped it out for a diesel 300 TDI. Gasoline prices are higher than diesel, so that's one of the biggest motivations for engine swaps.
Many Land Rover owners, like Maureen, depend on expertise in salvaged parts from collectors like Abdul Sisenga to keep their Defenders running.
The cars have become rare, and you won't find every mechanic who can fix a Land Rover.
But as older mechanics like Sisenga and Bukenya retire, a knowledge gap looms. Younger mechanics often lack the expertise to maintain these classic SUVs, leaving owners frustrated.
You don't just work to get money, but you work when you have got a person that thing. So that's where and the money can come automatically. But the problem is, like the teenagers, those people upcoming, they are still looking for money. But for me now, at my age now, I'm not working for money. I'm just working to still keeping my legacy.
One young enthusiast, Moses Wakasa, has taken it upon himself to learn from the veterans. Like Sisenga, Wakasa grew up near police and military barracks, where encounters with Land Rovers sparked a lifelong fascination. Now he seeks to honor Sisenga's work and contribute to the legacy of the vehicles that embodied his childhood dreams.
We look at him as an inspiration to us, the new breed, that we need to work together as a team, we need to do a lot of research, and above all, I think we need to love what we're doing.
While the older generation may still remember the Defender as a symbol of brutality, for today's enthusiasts, it represents something entirely different. Born after the post-colonial conflicts, they prized the Defender for its ruggedness.
I chose the Land Rover because of its durability and reliability, and so I've grown up knowing a Defender as the best vehicle and by experience.
In 2018, Wakasa won Uganda's 4x4 Challenge, further cementing the Defender's legacy as an unrivaled off-road icon.
The bitter sour about the Land Rover, it's got a poor short distance turning angle that you had to do a lot of reverse turn, while the other competitors used to do, a quite sharp turn. but you can't do a sharp turn with the Land Rover Defender because the turning angle is too small, so you need a wider, shot to go through. So it was a bit of, I would say, the only challenge that I had about it. The only way we could beat the challenge is coming already knowing the hazard that is ahead of you, the barrier that you're going to encounter, so you do a wide turn. But then most of these other rough terrains, the Land Rover used to beat them because it used to eat all these hazards, the barricades that used to bring about. The Land Rover would easily go about them because of its 4x4, which is, I'd say, by far the best.
The Land Rover's legacy is also celebrated globally, from its starring role in the 1980s film The Gods Must Be Crazy to the famed Camel Trophy expeditions. To foster a sense of community, Land Rover enthusiasts in Uganda have formed a club based in Kampala.
We brought together suppliers, owners, enthusiasts, even members from other clubs who don't even own Land Rovers are there.
The club organizes meetups and promotes a shared passion. It boasts over 300 members, including Maureen and Edward.
Once you own a Land Rover, this is what will happen. You will start always thinking, what's the next journey?
There are various Land Rover clubs across Africa. As Maureen and Edward journeyed across the continent, they connected with these communities, forging friendships with like-minded adventurers in different countries. In Malawi, they joined the local Land Rover Club on a mission of another kind, helping to distribute relief supplies to vulnerable communities affected by tropical cyclones.
Very interesting fellows, very nice gentlemen, and it just sort of reminded us of the brotherhood, that regardless of where you go to, as long as you have this car, people will welcome you.
With remarkable capabilities like this self-driving demonstration, the Land Rover embodies a deep bond between man and machine. To many of its owners, it is more than just a vehicle. It's a connection to history, a resilient symbol of endurance, and a reconciliation with a complicated past.
That's why we appreciate it. Land Rover becomes a lifestyle. In fact, when you join the Land Rover Club, we always say you are getting a disease. There's something the car does to you, and you will not get it in any other car.
Land Rover revived the Defender name in 2020. The latest incarnation embraces cutting-edge technologies, including artificial intelligence. Yet many Ugandans have yet to experience it. No wonder they continue to trust what they know best. The more affordable, older model, cherished for its proven reliability for over 6 decades.
The old model Land Rovers, they are still working, because even if when we find them in pieces, again we build them and they work. They are still better, the old one, than the new one. The new Land Rover, they are for luxury. They are not for work.
They are more reliable. They are reliable.
Due to his relationship with Land Rovers, Bukenya has turned down countless offers for his vintage vehicles.
Tomorrow my grandkid asks me, what was your first car to drive? What will I say? That's why I'm keeping them. I can't sell them.
Similarly, Maureen and Edward view the idea of parting with their well-traveled Land Rover as nothing short of a betrayal.
Because the Land Rover is family. That's why we just can't let it go. You don't let go family. It's just part of us, part of our story.
For us, it's not really about the money. It's about the memories that we make with it, and the more memories that we continue making with this car. So many years of investments that even money alone can't persuade us, unfortunately.
A vehicle that once provoked fear has now become a cherished icon. A man hunted by Land Rovers now rides atop the same vehicle as president. From a symbol of oppression to a source of pride, Ugandan enthusiasts have shifted gears, steering the Land Rover's narrative from a turbulent past towards a brighter future, 1 mile at a time. Do you have cars with such a storied history? Tell us in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel.